topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, where we believe in a better life through better business. Here, we help you aspire to greatness, achieve your goals, and ascend to new heights. Whether you're starting, scaling, or exiting, we're here to empower you with inspiring stories, enlightening discussions, and transformative resources to help you accelerate your success. Now, it's time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Hello and welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. It's wonderful to have you here. And yes, we are this place where we want you to have the information that you need to be successful. And sometimes that's the things that you need to do, right? And to take action on. Sometimes you have to put our risk management hat on. And we got to think about what are the things that could happen that we need to try to prevent from happening. And so we've got a couple of guests here with us today to talk about cybersecurity. And while that might not always be something that's top of mind, if you're in a startup mode or scaling up, and maybe that mid-size mode might not be something that you think of as a high priority, but we're going to go over some things here today that I think is going to help you to understand that it is important to consider this as a part of your overall strategy, your strategy for taking care of your customers, but also you need to consider the strategy of how these things might affect your team members, or how they might affect it if they are not necessarily those A players, they're not happy and engaged. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Nick Gibson and Geraldine Riley to share more about the strategies behind cybersecurity. So thanks, Nick and Geraldine. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Matt. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Good to be here.
Yeah, well, it's great having you here. So, well, of course, we like to start a little bit about your own entrepreneurial journeys, because, everybody is typically here, they want to hear something that's kind of relatable, right? They want to know that other people are going through some of the same stuff that they might be going through. So, Nick, do you want to start? I mean, I know you were the founder of the company, and Geraldine, you're now also a partner, right?
Heading there, yes.
Yeah, well, it's in process. Okay, all right,
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. So, Nick, tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to start Gibson Cyber.
Well, my career had spanned mostly in the Department of Defense and large Fortune 100 and 500 companies, and working for them in multiple capacities, usually in companies like managed service providers that manage large companies. And we would get called a lot by these small businesses. Hey, I have 5 employees. We just got ransomware. They're asking for $500,000. We don't have that. How can you help us? And I would have to turn to my bosses and, of course, and say, can we get the green light to go do this, help these people? And they say, no, they don't make enough money. They can't afford our services. So I wanted to bring an affordable cybersecurity solution to help the 46% of our economy that is the small businesses, because they are 46% of our economy, and no one out there is really helping them the way they should be helped. And that's why I'm bringing my service out there.
Thank you. And Geraldine, I know you're working on the partnership, but what's excited you enough to say, you know what, I believe enough in this mission to partner up with Nick and do battle together?
So I'm not quite the astute security elevation as Nick. He's quite smart and a great guy to work with. But I do have a Security Plus certification, and I was working in a company that was supposed to have a cybersecurity arm when I was looking to go in there. And after about 1.5 years, my husband and Nick had met, and Nick said he was a cyber geek, and my husband said, oh, my wife's a cyber geek. So when I got to meet Nick, we had a an obvious connection. And what I really loved about this company was the vision of protecting small businesses. It's not a business on our end as much as a passion that we have to make sure that these companies are secure. And, there was something about working in a company that had the same belief that I had. I was working in a company that I didn't really know if there was a lot of support. Nick is very strong, supportive of what I do in my sales and marketing. And, we're here to just grow our business, but mostly help other businesses.
Excellent. Well, so you like the idea of being able to help these small businesses that might not have somebody else to turn to, right? Like kind of Nick was saying, that there's just not a lot of providers that specialize in the cyber area, that this cybersecurity area for these folks. There's a lot of MSP. So what's the difference? Like you said, MSP, and some people might be familiar with the term. What is an MSP?
So it stands for, we in our cyber field, we love our acronyms. We have to have them. So it's an acronym that stands for Managed Service Provider. And then there's another acronym, MSSP, Managed Security Service Provider. And what those two mean is basically we take software solutions and help our clients manage them for them. A traditional MSP could do things like deploy an email server, or stand up multi-factor authentication, or a lot of like mostly engineering type traditional IT work. Or a MSSP, where we kind of fall into, is we specialize in security. So we use security products to bring cybersecurity to our clients. So we're not necessarily installing servers or anything like that, but we are investigating incidents, and generally our goal is to keep the what we call the CIA triad: the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. So that's our main job.
Okay, so that line is kind of doing the daily maintenance. Why is the computer working? Is it not working? Trying to prevent issues from popping up, and kind of that proactive management of the IT. The difference is that you're really specifically honed into the security components that make up the technological environment for a business.
Yes. I mean, and it kind of, if you think about it, all of our lives run on data. If you go to the gas pump you put in your car, that data needs to transmit somewhere. I secure that transmission, if you want to think about it that way.
Excellent.
I think working in the environment that Nick and I are in, we are very large cybersecurity for small companies. So one of the things we are challenged with is a lot of small companies don't really understand the umbrella that they need. They know what IT is, right? Everybody has an IT company. They know that they have a firewall, and they know they have an antivirus, and that is all great and well. But they don't have the other. That's like door number one. They don't have door number two and door number three, which are the other doors that they get in, the hackers. So our job is to provide doors 2 and 3 in addition to 1, to give them the security that they need. So talking with non-technical people in industries like accounting and CPAs, title companies, they're great in their craft, but they don't always know the technical end of it. So our job is to educate, consult, and hopefully lead them in a direction that they're going to want to cover their entire company with doors 1, 2, and 3, in addition to good password protection and education and all that.
Okay. All right. So what are those big doors, if you were to define them all again? So there's the firewall.
The antivirus, the antivirus and firewall, say, are in door 1.
Okay. All right.
And then we have like a door number 2, which might, in our situation, it's behavioral based, that the software we use, and it looks at anti-exploit, anti-ransomware, anti-bot. So those are the things that if they get into your system, they can just take it over. So that would be a door number 2. And then a door number 3 would be the analytics part of it, which is the forensics and the data loss prevention and remediation. So those are other arms that companies don't really think about. And companies in heavy data, CPAs, accountants, title companies, people that have a lot of attorneys, a lot of data, they need very strong protection. And their data is just as important as a big company. Nick said that to me last week, and I thought that is exactly true.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talk a lot about strategy as a strategic growth business coach. Obviously, that's part of that. And strategy is a big part of how we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. How much are we at risk for like our name, our brand, our goodwill from our customers if there's some sort of data breach or some sort of cybersecurity issue? Like, what are the risks for a company?
There's a lot of risks. One, I think it's over. I think over this, a lot of people say monetarily upfront as the number one. You can lose money. All right. I think that the more valuable one is number two, is reputation loss. 70. There's been a poll coming around. I forget I'll have to get back to you on the source of the poll, but it says 71% of people will not go back to a business that has lost their data previously. So imagine if you're a business owner and you get ransomware one day, and the next day you lose 71% of your business. How much would that affect you? I would say pretty substantially.
Yeah, I mean, most people, their 71% would be a pretty significant hit. Yeah. Unless they have large cash reserves, which is not typically the definition of a small or medium-sized business, unfortunately.
And then the other side of that Nick and I have talked about, they not only get ransomware, but then they have the FTC and the IRS coming after them for also a fine. And they're trying to recuperate what they've already lost, trying to satisfy the government, who really doesn't care that they just want you to get back on track. And and then what do you do if you have all these fines and you're ransomware? Can you afford to keep your employees?
Your insurance is going to cover it, right?
If you have insurance. And that's another thing. Do they have cybersecurity insurance? Do they qualify? Do they even know what risks they have in their company? And we do security evaluations for companies to help them see how risk they are.
Yeah. And it's funny about cyber insurance is that most of the time when you need cyber insurance, you've been hacked, and it's because of 99% of the time hackers get in due to user negligence. Well, that's not covered under cyber policies. If you fail, if you don't set a password correctly, or you don't have two-factor authentication on an account and they get in through that way, the basics of security, the policy won't cover you.
This brings something to mind. So often I'm talking with business owners and I get this feedback, like, why can't I just find employees that just come in, do their job, I give them a paycheck and no drama, and they just go, and I say, like, look, if that's all you think a job is to somebody, then you'll get those people, but those are the quiet quitters. They're not engaged, happy employees. They're going to go above and beyond. They're the ones that are kind of just going to do enough to not get fired. So they're going to be kind of lazy, or they're going to cut corners, or they're just not even going to care. They're like, so what? There was a hack. Company goes under. I'll just go get another job. Well, it was nice while it lasted. So when we talk about, like, okay, so what would be like a good example maybe of like where there's a human risk, human element, behavioral issue, if you will, that caused some sort of cyber breach, some sort of cyber issue, security issue?
There's a number of one that come to mind for me, but the I think the one that the audience would mostly identify with was the MGM hack that just happened recently in the last 6 months. That the MGM casino specifically. So they called the MGM casino's IT support desk and said, "Hey, I'm an employee. I locked myself out. Can you help me?" And being part of their job to help people, their IT support, they want just the human nature of wanting to help another human as well. Sure, I'll help you. gave the attackers a legitimate access to an account, and they proceeded to take millions of dollars, or ransomware MGM for millions of dollars, and they got paid. And that was as simple as calling the IT support line. It was posted right on the website. I mean, it's not hard to find the number.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that. And it's not even that the IT support person was trying to do anything. They were trying to do the best job that they could, but we're just human hacked is what we call it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it can even happen even if somebody's on top of their game. I mean,
yes,
most likely that MGM help desk person was, well, give them the benefit of the doubt. They're probably a happy-go-lucky type person. They probably enjoyed their job, and still yet people can be convincing, and they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Or it could be the other side. It's called social engineering when a human gets involved with their hacking. But it could be that they could present themselves as the president of the company, and then they're bullied. And they're saying, I'm the president of the company. You need to do this for me. And, I'm going to talk to your boss, and then you scare tactics into giving the information. So the other side of that is you're bullied into getting the information out there. And that's also real, because nobody wants to be fired. Everybody needs a paycheck.
Yeah. It's not bullying, but I had a client who, before she was in this sales position, she worked as kind of an administrative assistant for the CEO, and she received an email that looked like it had come from the CEO that said, "Hey, I'm in a meeting. I can't talk right now. Please don't text me. I just need these gift cards. And if you can just email me the numbers, I'd appreciate it." And at first she's like, okay. So she's kind of getting ready. Then she's like, maybe I should just go ahead and give him a call just to make sure, or send him a text. So she did. She found out, it was a phishing attack, or spear phishing attack, or whatever they call it. Is it a spear phishing whenever you're going for a specific person? Is that what you call that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So a spear phishing attack, and fortunately, she was able to figure it out and didn't waste the hundreds of dollars. I mean, it was kind of, I think, a smaller one, but who knows? I mean, it could have definitely blossomed into a lot more. So,
yes.
But you've seen those kinds of attacks?
Yes, a lot, quite often. They're very common. To be honest.
I got one soon after I started working for Nick. It came on my text, and it said, and I knew he was in a meeting. So the text said, "Hey, Geraldine, this is Nick. I'm in a meeting," which I knew he was in a meeting. And they said, "Can you run and get these gift cards and send me the barcodes?" And I mean, I'm a little wiser than maybe the average bear, hopefully, what I do. So I just said, I didn't respond back, but often they might come from a third world country or another country outside of the US. So I was a smart guy, and I said, I'll send you 2 cows and a sheep for the winner of whoever's going to get your prize instead of the gift card. Just being funny back. But yeah, they happen a lot. And then I got another one a few weeks ago that I just didn't even pay attention to.
Yeah. And without, proper security, it's very easy for someone to go, "Oh, I was waiting for an Amazon package. That something must be wrong with it. Let me click on this link and find out."
Yeah. Well, I get text messages about FedEx packages and whatnot when there's really no FedEx package or whatever, and stuff like that. I mean, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not clicking on you.
Yes.
But so, Nick, I'm just curious.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I was just saying, to your previous point about bad employees, we call those insider threats, and they happen all the time as well. I think that the Target hack way back in 2014 was where it was negligence on the part of the HVAC company. They left an open account, and the entire system worldwide of Target was hacked. So that just goes to negligence. So sorry about that. I just wanted to kind of point that into your original point as well.
No, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, and I'll chase that squirrel for a second here, but in a second here. But Nick, I'm just curious. You don't have to tell Geraldine, but like, who did you pay to get them to email her just to test her right when she started?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, going back to the Target situation, that was I think a great example of maybe a small business, or I can't remember the size of that HVAC company. Maybe it was a mid-sized business, somewhere in that range, but it wasn't the huge global company that Target is. And they probably thought, well, hey, we're probably fine. It's not going to happen to us. And, maybe they didn't necessarily have enough to make it worth the hacker's time for themselves. Who knows? But, well, I mean, maybe they did. But let's let's just say, like, maybe they weren't, maybe they weren't really big enough to really be worth the hacker's time. But using them as a door to using Geraldine's terminology, they're using them as a doorway to one of their bigger clients, which I know, especially in the B2B world, or even in the B2C world. I mean, sometimes people have high net worth clients, and it really puts them at risk. And most of those folks, if you are that doorway into something that's going to end up causing them a lot of strife and wasting their time and wasting their money, it's going to really put a strain on that relationship.
I think too. I think one of the things. Sorry, Nick.
No, keep going.
One of the things, when you talk about that HVAC company and Target, is the supply chain. If, in a sense, if you're a contractor or subcontractor, you're a small company, you might think, well, I'm just a small company. But if you're working with larger companies and they don't have a requirement on you to have good security, and you're the person that doesn't have the security into the large company. So, even if you're a small company, if you're a subcontractor, you do need to have yourself on lockdown so that you don't affect the ripples later on down the line with that chain.
That reminds me of First American Title, that just a few months back that was hacked. One of their independent agents was hacked first, and that led them, and their email got hacked, and that led them into the corporate systems. So just an independent agent out of somewhere out there, and hacked the entire corporate just because they're working with them and they were insecure.
Wow. Well, so what can a small business do, or what are some of the things that a small business needs to put on their checklist of steps that they can take to start to get more secure and protect themselves, at least from some of the big, medium-sized, risks out there?
I think first off is to have a risk assessment done about their business. And I say this because there's a lot of the download a security packages out there where you just go online and you download it. It doesn't fit your business model directly. So I think having a risk assessment done to know exactly where you need to fit your security needs to fit into how you operate is vital. I think that's the first thing I tell people all the time is we need to find out what we need to find out first, right? We need to talk about how do you intake documents? How do you talk to clients? How do you communicate with them? Who has access to what data? How many administrators do you have on your network? All these different things go into what security software you need. And you could be making a spend that is unnecessary or not helpful at all if you don't know this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even would you say looking at how many old email accounts or old accounts, in whatever systems you might have that are from ex-employees that you just never bothered to get rid of? Is that
exactly that is 100% how Target got hacked. They had an account out there. No one shut it off, and the attackers found it. The hackers
probably wasn't being monitored either. So
nope,
they were
wasn't being monitored.
Doing a thing, and
and it was an administrative level account. So how do you know? Like you got people that aren't the business owners making and doing changes on the network, which is fine. But if you don't know what they're doing or their accounts get hacked, it just looks like they're doing their normal job. So how is anyone supposed to figure out that anything's wrong? And that's what the attackers are looking for. They want to make it look like everything's fine. Everything's fine as I'm stealing all your data and draining your bank accounts.
And in all fairness to the small companies, right? They're doing the best they can with what they know. And they might be picking an IT company that maybe their brother's doing it for them. Maybe they have a son in college who's working on their system for them. Or maybe they have a small company they're working with who doesn't really have security as one of their stools, their three-legged stools, for what they need to offer. So, it's easy on the small business end to not know and to not know where to go. Our job is to help educate those IT companies that the Nortons and the $8 packages a month is not going to cut it for cybersecurity. It's great for a home system, but it's not going to work for what they're looking for to protect their data. And, and I'm just going to say, like, Nick and I work with a few big heavy hitters. We call them heavyweights. We're a heavyweight cyber company. We work with some really great companies that the corporations use. So our customers get corporate level enterprise grade security for pennies on the dollar as a small company. And we also have a great enterprise grade password protection. We didn't even talk about the Drive situation, Google Drive and some of the Drive situations that we also cover, even though, they're HIPAA compliant, Google Drive and some of those other drives. We help track not just the drive, but the data going in and the data going out. And so that's not covered in a lot of these IT companies, So do you want to address some of that, Nick? Because he's the pro on that.
Yes, yeah, and that's our biggest thing that we come at is cloud security. Everything's in the cloud, and that's great, and I want everyone to be in the cloud, because you want to have Google's security behind you. You can't put enough money, as much as Google can put enough money into your security. So that's why that's what I tell people. But there's also some things that even Google doesn't do for you. So putting our security solutions on top of, we call it on top of Google Drive or the Google Suite to monitor for activities while you're operating normally is a great service that we offer. Because let's say that you have a file that you're sharing out there with certain people, and then at one point in time, someone else gets that file that shouldn't have been shared to it. How do you know that that's actually happening when you have 1,000 files in your Google Drive with that one single file that may contain everyone's social security number in the company or something? You know what I mean?
Right.
So having an alarm system going, oh, this file was changed to an outside source, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That raises alarms on our side. Hey, why is there a file containing this data going outside of the environment?
And I think with the door 1, 2, and 3 that I talked about, a lot of companies might have a product for door 1 and think they have a product for door 2, but door 2 doesn't talk to door 1, or they might have door 3. Our product with door 1, 2, and 3, they all talk to each other, and it's constant. It's a 24/7. So if something's happening here, it'll automatically start talking to over here and to eradicate any of the problems before it even gets onto the computer.
Yes,
and I think that's
that happens.
What we have.
That, for example, let's say you're out and about, and you need to check your email. Actually, you're out and about, and you need to check your email at your grandmother's house because it's Thanksgiving. How you log in your email, and you look at all your things. How do you know that email that you're looking at is protected? Because there's no other security there. You're not on your normal devices that the normal antiviruses would protect. You're on someone else's device. So how do you know that you're going to be protected by going to your email, logging in, all that other things? Well, our security on top of that protects that. It looks at where you're logging in from. We're checking for who's logging into your email. Why are they accessing it? What are they doing? All that sort of stuff. So even if you're not on your device and you're not on your phone and you're at your grandma's house for Thanksgiving and the cell phone service is crappy because she lives in Central Florida, you can still check your work email and know that you're secure, just as you would if you're in your office.
Right. Unfortunately, as you're kind of mentioning that, I'm kind of thinking about like an analogy. So, you go to grandma's house, and you'll use her computer maybe, and you don't know how secure it is, how safe. You don't know how clean it is, if you will.
Nope.
So, but would you ask grandma to feed you with her bare hands?
Yeah.
Without knowing if she washed her hands first, right? Oh, terrible analogy, but hopefully it puts enough of a picture in somebody's head that they
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
no, I probably wouldn't have it Nana feed me.
as far as strategy, Matt, I know this is your cup of tea. You're great at what you do. As far as strategy, a lot of companies that I'm finding out will spend new companies, startups, small companies around, they'll spend $1,000 a month on marketing and not think twice about it.
Right.
But they don't invest in their cybersecurity. They want to get the cheapest amount just to have it. But what they don't realize is that it's not just, I call it an egg. It's not a side issue. It's really your whole company needs to be have an umbrella over it. And you do need an investment. It is an investment, prepare instead of repair, because the repair could put you under.
Well, and I know the challenge for a good IT company and a good cybersecurity company is that if you're doing your job, they should wonder, like, why are we paying these people? Because there's nothing that's coming up because everything's fine, everything's working, right? So you're kind of out of sight, out of mind. Like, why is this money coming out of the bank account every month? Who are these people, right? Now, I mean, obviously you want to maintain that relationship and you want to communicate, hey, this is what's going on, and we had these weird things going on, and and have those conversations. But hopefully they're not having issues, so they are going to naturally be like, oh well, what's going on here, and if you're kind of doing your job. So it's kind of a hard place to be in sometimes, right?
Yeah. It is, but I think that's where what the image that we're trying to get away from as well as a little bit too is that we're not just there to sit in the background. Security is proactive. You need to be proactive about security. So we're a proactive security company. So we're meeting with you on the monthly basis to talk about what has happened over the month. We're checking all of your applications and devices that you use for security updates that need to happen. We're making sure that you actually do those security updates and they don't just sit in the background with a little ping that says, hey, reminder, you need an update, and it never actually happens. Because that's where the attackers are waiting for. They're waiting for you to miss an update or to not look where this email is coming from. So you need to have someone like us that's proactive in the background going, nope, that's a person that you've never emailed before. Why are you emailing them back? So
I mean,
things like that.
To really think about it too in a different way, it's like if you're a business owner and you have the right systems in place and the right people in place, then things should be running smoothly. You're not going to think though, well, things are running so smoothly. Why am I paying this person this salary since things are running so smoothly? Yeah. Well, hopefully you realize it's because you've got the right person in place that's killing it.
Right. Yes.
Right.
So I think it's the same way to think about with services such as yours, that hey, if you're not having any issues and it's smooth, then it's probably because they're killing it, and you probably don't want to get rid of that. So yeah. All right.
I want to share one more point real quick.
Yep,
I listened to a guy about cybersecurity the other day, and he said, a hacker has a choice. They can go to the Bank of America downtown where there's a security guard with a gun, layering of doors to get through to get into the bank to rob, or they can go to the small banks on the more remote side where they have a community police officer, maybe an older gentleman, and there's not a lot of security. They'd probably rather go get 10 of those than try to get into the big bank. So our job is to have the security of the big bank for these little banks, so to speak.
Yeah. So you're saying that there's some banks that might have somebody that could also qualify as like a Walmart greeter as I mean, sorry, you're a Walmart greeter, but you probably shouldn't be a security officer.
I like Walmart.
And I love the greeters. It's always wonderful there, especially when they're smiling and happy, but they probably shouldn't be the security officer at a bank. I'm just saying, right? Like there's roles and whatnot, so so it's kind of like that. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And it sounds to me like you work with MSPs as well, right? Like, so if an MSP is listening right now, we're the owner of an MSP or something like that, you guys can work to kind of support them and have their back, right?
Yeah, yes, we become a security operations center, what we call SOC for an IT firm. So
right,
SOC. So we any cybersecurity sort of related issues, we help bolt on right onto an IT firm to bolster their offering for their clients.
Yeah. So they've got their NOC, you've got your SOC.
Exactly, 100%.
And together you form a strong rock.
Yes,
I like that, Matt. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's better than snock.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It is better than snot.
Yeah.
Nick.
You can keep them from the hard knocks, right? I mean, because you put
Yes.
the wait, because there's S at the end, but it's you already said knock. Anyway, all right. So, what if somebody wants to know more? Like, what is a good way for them to get a hold of you? And do you have any special opportunities right now, promotions or something like that might help them to be able to take that step, even if they're maybe kind of thinking about it, kicking it around?
Right now we're offering that risk assessment I was telling you about for
Okay.
anyone that's listening. If they come on and say that that they heard us on the show, we're going to give a 50% off. So it's normally we do like $350 for our risk assessment. So we're giving you around $150. I'm not good with math off the fly right now, but
175.
Anyone that wants a risk assessment to really understand where their cybersecurity is and where they need to focus on, we're giving half off for anyone who does that. Listen to the show.
Yeah,
Awesome.
They can go to gibsoncyber.com and
Yes.
there's a contact us button. Say that you heard us on Matt's wonderful show, and we would love to reach out and talk with you. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on here with us today, Nick and Geraldine, and maybe we'll have to do this again sometime and dig deeper into one of these issues. And thank you to the audience who's listening. We really appreciate you. This is what it's about. If you would like to hear any other topics, or if you'd like us to dig deeper in any of these, please feel free to message me, shoot me an email, at matt@timeforsuccess.io or team@entrepreneursascending.com. Or you can go to entrepreneursascending.com and fill out our contact form. Let us know too. Or make a comment anywhere where any of these shows are posted, or any of that stuff. So we'd love to hear your feedback. And thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.